In English football, few seasons carry the legacy of Manchester United's 1998-99 campaign. The numbers themselves are staggering. Premier League champions, FA Cup winners, and Champions League victors, all secured within a span of 11 days. But the story of how Sir Alex Ferguson's side reached this pinnacle is even more compelling, a narrative of faltering starts, unlikely heroes, supreme resilience, and late comebacks. The quest for immortality began in disappointment. The previous season, United had thrown away a seemingly unassailable lead in the league. By March 1998, Ferguson's team were 11 points clear at the top, yet a ruthless Arsenal, under Arsene Wenger, hunted them down. United faltered badly, losing key games, and by May, the Gunners had not only snatched the title, but sealed the double. The collapse cut deep. As Gary Neville later admitted, "We'd blown it, Arsenal were relentless, and we had to look in the mirror. That summer, there was only one thing on our minds: we had to respond." Reinforcements were brought in. Dutch powerhouse 𝐬𝐝𝐵𝐷 in defence, Dwight Yorke up front to join Andy Cole, and Swedish winger Jesper Blomqvist to strengthen the flanks. The squad already boasted Schmeichel, Keane, Giggs, Scholes, Beckham, Solskjaer and Sheringham. The pieces were there, but as the season began, doubts remained. Manchester United's 1998-99 league journey did not begin like that of champions. Instead, it started shakily, with the ghosts of the previous year still whispering doubts. Before moving on to the league campaign, please consider liking, sharing and subscribing. This is the third video in a series highlighting the greatest teams of the Premier League era. This time, we examine Manchester United's legendary treble-winning side of '99. Next will be Arsenal's Invincibles. Thank you. The curtain raiser against Leicester City at Old Trafford ended in a 2-2 draw, with David Beckham salvaging a late equaliser. A week later came another draw, this time a goalless result against West Ham at Upton Park. Then came the first real blow, a 3-0 defeat at Highbury to Arsene Wenger's Arsenal, the very team who had outmuscled and outpaced United to the title months earlier. Freddie Ljungberg, Nicolas Anelka and Tony Adams did the damage, and for Ferguson, it was a harsh reminder that the champions were still formidable. Gary Neville later admitted, "We were fragile in those weeks. After what happened in '98, every setback felt bigger." But the boss kept hammering home that it was a marathon, not a sprint. By the end of September, United had only won 2 of their opening 5 league games. Critics whispered that Ferguson's gamble on signings like Dwight Yorke and 𝐬𝐝𝐵𝐷 might not be enough. If there was a single turning point in United's domestic season, it came with the blossoming of the Dwight Yorke-Andy Cole partnership. Yorke, signed from Aston Villa for £12.6 million, had been doubted by some who wondered if he was truly United class. Ferguson had no doubts. "I knew Dwight had the personality and the skill. He played with a smile, and that was infectious." By October, Yorke and Cole were combining beautifully. A 3-0 win over Southampton at Old Trafford showcased their chemistry, and a few weeks later, both scored in a 5-0 demolition of Wimbledon. "It was like telepathy," Cole later said. "I'd make the run, and Dwight already knew. We thrived on each other's movement." United went on a 7-game unbeaten league run after the Arsenal defeat, climbing steadily up the table. Wins over Everton, Blackburn and Liverpool helped restore confidence. The festive period in English football often makes or breaks title challenges, and United faltered badly. During December, they only won 1 game out of 6. It was in January when United finally hit top form and turned their season around, winning 5 league games in a row. During that run, the floodgates opened, and they scored 20 goals. The highlight was United thrashing Nottingham Forest 8-1 away, with Solskjaer famously coming off the bench to score 4 goals in just 12 minutes, a reminder of the squad depth Ferguson possessed. Solskjaer later quipped, "My job was to make an impact, whether I had 90 minutes or 9. That night, everything I hit went in. By the end of January, United were top of the league, but Chelsea, Villa and Arsenal were all within striking distance. But Arsenal had also hit top form and were on a great run. They had won 6 out of 7 games between December 20th and February 6th. All this set up a titanic clash between them at Old Trafford. United had a great chance to take the lead, but York missed the penalty. 𝐬𝐻𝐾 gave Arsenal the lead after 47 minutes, but Cole managed to salvage a 1-1 draw for United. On April 24th, Arsenal battered Middlesbrough 6-1 to briefly retake top spot, only for United to respond the following day with a tough 1-1 draw away at Leeds. They then won their game in hand against Aston Villa a couple of days later to regain top spot. Ferguson famously said, "The lads never let setbacks stick. They just keep moving forward. That's the only way you win leagues." One of the defining moments came in early May. United travelled to Middlesbrough. Arsenal had beaten Tottenham on the 5th of May to regain top spot. In a tense, scrappy game, Keane later recalled, "We knew we couldn't slip. Arsenal were breathing down our necks. That day, it wasn't about playing well, it was about being relentless." United edged out a 1-0 win thanks to York's goal, a result Ferguson hailed as championship form. By the penultimate round of fixtures, the margins were razor thin. Arsenal blinked first, and they lost 1-0 away at Leeds. United needed a victory against Tottenham on the final day to guarantee the title. The tension at Old Trafford on May 16, 1999 was palpable. Spurs struck first through Les Ferdinand, and for a moment, history threatened to repeat itself. But Beckham, often the target of criticism and pressure, bent the game back in United's favour with a curling equaliser. In the second half, Andy Cole lifted the ball over Ian Walker to seal a 2-1 win. The Premier League trophy was theirs. United had finished on 79 points, one clear of Arsenal. After the match, Ferguson reflected, "That was the hardest league we've ever won. Arsenal pushed us to the very edge, but in pushing us, they made us better." Gary Neville, meanwhile, admitted relief more than joy. "After blowing it the year before, we weren't going to let it happen again. The league is the bread and butter. Without it, there's no treble." While the Premier League demanded consistency, the FA Cup provided theatre. If the league provided United's resilience over 38 games, the FA Cup showed their ability to survive crises and deliver when elimination loomed. The fourth round tie against Liverpool on January 24, 1999 at Old Trafford remains one of the most important matches of the entire treble journey. For much of the afternoon, it looked destined to end in disaster. Michael Owen struck in the 3rd minute, seizing on hesitant defending, and Liverpool spent the next 85 minutes frustrating United. With the clock running down, then came the moment Ferguson would later call the catalyst for everything that followed. In the 88th minute, Dwight York bundled in an equaliser after a scramble caused by Andy Cole's header. Old Trafford roared in relief, but the best was yet to come. In stoppage time, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the perennial super sub, latched onto a rebound and lashed the ball into the roof of the net. From despair to delirium in 2 minutes. Solskjaer later reflected, "That day against Liverpool changed something in us. We knew from then on we could always come back." Ferguson agreed. It gave the players belief they could turn any game around. You need moments like that in football. They become part of your psychology. The 5th round brought a trip to Craven Cottage, where United comfortably beat Fulham 1-0 thanks to a goal by Cole. The quarter-final, however, presented a formidable task: Chelsea at home. The Londoners were unbeaten in 21 league games and brimming with confidence. In the first match, United ground out a 0-0 draw. At Stamford Bridge in the replay, however, they asserted dominance. York scored both goals in a 2-0 win. The treble dream was still alive, and Ferguson's men were showing their knack for handling high-pressure ties. The defining FA Cup clash of 1999 came in the semi-final against Arsenal. The reigning double winners, United's fiercest rivals, and the team pushing them hardest in the league. The first game at Villa Park ended 0-0, a cagey affair marked by near misses. The replay, 3 days later on April 14th, produced one of the most iconic matches in English football history. United led through Beckham's curling strike from the edge of the box, but Arsenal equalised in the second half through Dennis Bergkamp. Keane then got a deserved red card. Then, late drama unfolded. Referee David Elray awarded Arsenal a penalty after Phil Neville tripped Ray Parlour. Peter Schmeichel, the Great Dane, stood tall and dived to his left, palming away Bergkamp's effort. The United fans erupted. Yet, Arsenal pressed on, and with seconds left, 𝐤𝐻𝐫𝐞𝐿 thought he had won it, only to be flagged offside. Extra time beckoned, and then came that moment. Ryan Giggs, picking up a loose pass from Patrick Vieira deep inside United's half, embarked on a solo run that defied belief. Driving past Dixon, Keown and Adams, he surged into the box before rifling the ball high past David Seaman. Giggs tore off his shirt in celebration, whirling it above his head, chest bare, as he sprinted towards the United fans. Ferguson later called it the greatest goal in FA Cup history. Roy Keane said simply, "That was the moment I knew nothing could stop us." United held on for a 2-1 win. The treble was now more than a dream, it felt inevitable. On May 22nd, just 4 days before the Champions League final, United faced Newcastle United at Wembley. Despite the looming Champions League final, Ferguson fielded a strong side, determined not to let focus slip. Sheringham, on as an early substitute for the injured Roy Keane, opened the scoring with a sharp finish inside 11 minutes. Paul Scholes added a second in the 52nd minute, driving home from the edge of the box after a clever layoff from Sheringham. United controlled the match and ran out 2-0 winners. The cup was theirs for the 10th time, and more importantly, the double was complete. Ferguson reminded his players in the dressing room, "This is history already, but in 4 days, you can make immortality." While the league tested consistency and the FA Cup demanded nerve, the Champions League demanded bravery, tactical intelligence and resilience. For Ferguson, lifting Europe's Premier Trophy had always been the ultimate ambition, but this season it carried added significance. United were determined to avenge past European near misses and complete the treble. Manchester United was drawn into a fearsome group alongside Barcelona, Bayern Munich and Brøndby. The campaign began with a thrilling 3-3 draw at Old Trafford against Barcelona. United raced into a 2-0 lead, but Barcelona fought back to earn the draw. The return fixture at Camp Nou produced another 3-3 thriller, with Cole and York showing incredible teamwork to score all 3 goals. However, Rivaldo salvaged the draw with Barcelona. Ferguson described these games as lessons in how to handle pressure at the very highest level. Against Bayern Munich away, United fought back from a 1-0 deficit to lead 2-1, thanks to York and Scholes. But Bayern scored a late equaliser. United finished second and advanced as one of the best runners-up. The quarter-finals pitched United against Inter Milan, a tactically disciplined and physically robust Italian side. The first leg at Old Trafford ended 2-0 to United, with York scoring both goals, showcasing Beckham's incredible crosses. The second leg at the San Siro ended 1-1, after Scholes scored a late equaliser. Next up was Juventus. The Italian giants had reached 3 Champions League finals in a row. The semi-final clash with Juventus remains one of the most dramatic in European football history. The first leg at Old Trafford had ended 1-1, with Roy Keane scoring a late equaliser after Antonio Conte had put Juventus ahead. The second leg at the Stadio delle Alpi in Turin ended up one of the greatest European nights in Man United's history. Juventus raced into a 2-0 lead inside 11 minutes, thanks to Filippo Inzaghi scoring both goals. United looked defeated, the treble dream in peril. Yet, Ferguson's players did not crumble. Roy Keane, the captain and engine of the midfield, produced one of the greatest performances of his career, bulldozing through Juventus' defence and heading in a goal just before half-time to make it 2-1. Keane later reflected, "I knew the only way we could get back was by sheer force. I had to take responsibility for the team." York scored the equaliser after clever movement from Cole, and then, with the clock ticking, Cole completed the comeback, poking home the winner to make it 3-2. Ferguson later described Keane's performance as the single most courageous display I have ever witnessed by a Manchester United player. He inspired everyone. That night in Turin became a blueprint for resilience and belief. United could always find a way. The season's climax arrived on May 26, 1999 at Camp Nou against Bayern Munich. The Germans were ahead within 6 minutes via Mario Basler's free kick, and for the bulk of the game, United appeared beaten. Bayern dominated possession, forcing Schmeichel into multiple saves, and United's fleeting attacks were repeatedly snuffed out. 𝐵𝐸 hit the woodwork with a sublime chip from 20 yards out. 𝐼𝐻𝐭 also hit the bar with an overhead kick late on. United were clinging on. But Ferguson had one final plan. At the 81st minute, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was introduced from the bench. In the 91st minute, David Beckham delivered a corner into the penalty area. The ball came to Giggs outside the box, who took a poor shot that came to 𝐬𝐻𝐵𝐻𝐿, who tapped it in from close range. The game looked like it was going into extra time. Just 1 minute later, another Beckham corner found 𝐬𝐻𝐵𝐻𝐿, who again flicked it on. Solskjaer, in instinctive fashion, poked the ball past Oliver Kahn into the net. In 3 minutes, defeat had turned into victory. Ferguson famously uttered, "Football, bloody hell." Schmeichel, lifting the Champions League trophy in his final United appearance, said, "That night, everything we believed in came together. The fight, the talent, the luck, and the will to never give up. They weren't always the best team. They only won 5 out of 12 games in Europe, where they did not lose even once." The Champions League triumph completed the treble and cemented United's place among Europe's elite. Every player contributed to a season defined not just by talent, but by nerve, courage and self-belief. York and Cole led the way with goals, but 𝐬𝐻𝐵𝐻𝐿 and Solskjaer contributed from the bench. Beckham and Giggs provided the assists. This was a treble built on the abilities of the entire squad. Ferguson's management style, demanding, motivational and strategic, was central. He reflected years later, "To win in England is one thing, but to go to Europe and lift the biggest prize, with all the pressure and quality you face, that is something else." That was a team built on belief and character. The Premier League triumph showed United's consistency and mental toughness, bouncing back from a shaky start to edge out a relentless Arsenal. The FA Cup campaign forged a spirit of late-game heroics, epitomised by the comeback against Liverpool and Ryan Giggs' wonder goal against Arsenal that instilled belief throughout the squad. And in Europe, the team faced the toughest tests, a group of death. A dramatic quarter-final against Inter Milan and a semi-final comeback against Juventus that showcased Roy Keane's indomitable leadership. The final against Bayern Munich, with 𝐬𝐻𝐵𝐻𝐿 and Solskjaer's stoppage-time goals, sealed a night of unforgettable drama that has since become football folklore. Ferguson's managerial genius, combined with the class of '92 and the brilliant signings of York, Cole and Stam, created a squad that could withstand pressure and seize historic moments. That was the story of how Manchester United won the treble in '99, undoubtedly one of the greatest teams in English football history. This was the 3rd video in a series focusing on the greatest teams of the Premier League era. My next video will be on Arsenal's Invincibles, so if you'd like to learn more, click subscribe.